Well, welcome to Bible class. We're glad that you're here with us. And even in these means where we're not face to face, a physical face to face, it's good to still have the ability to come to all of you and an ability to teach class and study together. We've been studying the book of Nahum, and we're going to be studying Habakkuk starting next week. And we're actually finishing up the book of Nahum today, verses 11 through 19. And we left off last week where we are really starting to discuss and study about the destruction of Nineveh. And verse 11 picks up and says, "You also will be drunk, you will be hidden, you also will seek refuge from the enemy. As a drunken man who cannot walk, you will walk. You will be hidden and will search for refuge." The word hidden there is something brought to nothing and is therefore hidden. The refuge or strength in the King James Version is this stronghold and hiding place. You're looking for that, but you're not going to find it. All of your strongholds, verse 12, are fig trees with ripened figs. If they are shaken, they fall into the mouth of the eater. Even the surrounding areas which they used to protect the city will be shaken. Its valuable fruit will be eaten up. This is a total decimation. It is a total destruction. In fact, you might remember we've had these conversations in other Bible classes before that it would not have been uncommon for people to have been sitting on a donkey or on a camel or whatever they were riding, passing where Nineveh used to be, and it's just dust. No longer what it once was. It's completely gone away. This is a total annihilation. All valuable things will be destroyed or taken, and even the surrounding areas that they used to protect the city are going to be affected. Surely your people in your midst are women. The gates of your land are wide open for your enemies. Fire shall devour the bars of your gates. Even the men are going to appear as weak. This is not something that was intended to be a sexist comment. It was just a kind of a matter of fact. These strong men in this time period were the ones that would be used to fight, and they're going to look as weak people, incapable of fighting. That's how bad this battle is going to be. You ever seen that in a boxing match maybe before? I know I've talked about the Rocky movies. They're not real, but all of those movies have usually depicted the person that Rocky Balboa is fighting saying things. I remember in Rocky 4, Ivan Drago said he's like iron. Every time I punch him, he's like iron. How do you break iron? You just can't do it. And Drago, even though he was this big specimen of a man, couldn't break Balboa. And that's what God is essentially saying to these Ninevites, these people who are following after Babylon's sinful ways. All of Babylon, it's going to be like not even worth it. Not even able to fight, I should say. You're not worth going onto a battlefield because you're incapable of fighting. Think about that for a minute. All that Babylon had accomplished, all that Nineveh had taken and destroyed, and now they're going to go out into a fight in which they're not even going to make it, not even going to have an opportunity. All of the defenses are torn down. So draw your water for the siege, fortify your strongholds, go into the clay and tread the mortar, make strong the brick kiln. You go get ready. Strengthen your fortifications and put plenty of water close by. You're going to need it. The walls of Nineveh were 8 miles long and about 100 feet high. The width was 50 to 100 feet thick, and 2 or 3 chariots could ride abreast on them. And it took thousands of bricks to build the wall. But I will consume you as the locust. The idea of locust is found in Joel 1:4 and chapter 225, Isaiah 33 and verse 4. All of your work that you've done for nothing. For nothing. Multiply yourself, he's saying. See if you can match the strength of the Babylonians. You're not going to be able to do it. There the fire will devour you, the sword will cut you off, it will eat you up like a locust. Make yourself many like the locust, make yourself many like the swarming locust. The fire will consume you. The Assyrian king killed himself by fire instead of being killed by the Babylonians. You've multiplied your merchants more than the stars of heaven. The locust plunders and flies away. You have increased your traders more than the stars of heaven. Trade routes from all parts of the world went through Nineveh. Creeping locusts, the Chaldeans. Your commanders, verse 17, are like the swarming locusts, and your generals like great grasshoppers, which camp in the hedges on a cold day. When the sun rises, they flee away, and the place where they are is not known. Your guardsmen is like the swarming locusts, settling in the stone walls on a cold day. The locusts, when their wings got cold, would crawl into the brick walls to get warm, and then when the sun would come out, they would flee. Your shepherds, they slumber, O king of Assyria. Your nobles rest in the dust. Your people are scattered on the mountains, and no one gathers them. The leaders are dead. The people have scattered. Your injury has no healing. Your wound is severe. All who hear news of you will clap their hands over you, for upon whom has not your wickedness passed continually? No relief for the wounds that you have. All the people are rejoicing because of your downfall. They clap their hands for joy because they see in the fall of Nineveh a measure of retaliation that was justified. There's not hope and joy to be found for Nineveh, or for that matter, Babylon or the Assyrians. There's no joy to be found for these groups of people. They will be destroyed. They will have the problems come back to them. They will fall. They are going to be destroyed. I want you to think about that, because we've talked a lot throughout this class about the idea of how are we any different from Assyria? How are we any different from even Babylon? How are we any different if we don't understand that sin has consequences? If we don't understand that, we're not going to be any better. What you and I do, what you and I say, where we go, and how we act matters. That's what this whole book can really teach us, is that the destruction of Nineveh could easily happen to you and to me. I know we sometimes sit and think we're not in any danger. I bet the Assyrians thought that too. No one can take us. This is the United States of America. Think again. This is the greatest country. Think again. Just because people have said things like that, it does not mean that we are incapable of falling. Nineveh fell. Babylon would fall. All of these places that you study about that were dominating powers, in the blink of an eye, were gone from the face of the earth. And that happens even today. Just from the aspect of congregations, you remember congregations that once had their buildings built and they were populated with a lot of people, and now maybe if you drive by that area, it's, oh man, I didn't even know that they're gone. What happened? In some cases, they moved to a better area, a better location. Maybe they built a new building, but in many cases, there are people and places that no longer worship in these areas because the church there died. Could you ever have expected that to take place? We're not exempt. No one is. The biggest takeaway from this whole book that I could give you is the idea that the destruction of Nineveh could quickly become the destruction of the United States. It could quickly become the destruction of the Somerville Church of Christ. If we allow sin and destruction and death to be a part of our lives, we will pay the consequences of it. Do not be deceived. Evil companions corrupt good morals. We must be righteous. It makes the world a difference in our lives and in our ability to stay alive. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. And why would we think it's any different for us? Just because we've got a country that's really good and we enjoy living in it, and just because things have been pretty good for several years, we're not exempt. I hope that this particular book has been a benefit for you, and as we've studied it together, it's been a benefit for me. I am looking forward next week to picking up with Habakkuk and looking at all that we can find recorded in Scripture in that account. And until then, we ask that you continue to study, take care, and God bless.